have a very special guest, a man who needs no introduction, a famous Hong Kong dissident living in Toronto, Canada, a talented artist and musician, Mr. Ricker Choi. It is a huge pleasure to have you on my show. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Sam. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. So I'm going to dive straight into it. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. When did you first come to Canada and what do you do for a living?
Sure. So I came to Canada in 1988. It was the time with my family, and we immigrated to Canada from Hong Kong together. So I'm actually sharing screen. Do you see my shared screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see it. Okay. So it's a presentation that I have prepared. Do you have it displayed right now? You have like Ricker Choi immigrated to Canada, 1988.
Yeah, on the left side.
Okay, good. Okay. Yeah, I immigrated with my family from Hong Kong in 1988, and I have a career in actually financial risk management. But for a long time, I lost touch with Hong Kong because I worked here and studied here. So it was only really in 2019 during the anti-extradition protest in Hong Kong that I get reconnected because I was deeply moved by the millions of Hong Kongers come out in protest for a whole year. So I started doing music and arts to express my emotions and feelings about Hong Kong. And I wrote a piano piece called Hong Kong Rhapsody, which I'll explain a little bit more later. It's a solo piano piece to describe the protest in 2019. And since then, I've organized and participated in concerts and art exhibitions to fundraise for different organizations. So here is me in 1975, the year I was born in Hong Kong. So that's me with my mom. You can see actually on the right, there's a piano because my mom played the piano. So she has a great influence on me back then about my love for music. Yeah, so that's a little bit brief background of myself.
Very good. And you've already answered part of the next question I wanted to ask you about what inspired you to become an activist, obviously. But how long have you been engaged in activism?
Actually, only 2019. Before 2019, I wasn't really paying a lot of attention to Hong Kong or international relations. I do watch news, but it wasn't really something I feel very passionate about. It's really only in 2019, when the news come out about the protest and that Hong Kongers are bravely resisting the police brutality and authoritarianism that moved me a lot. So it's really 2019 June that I started.
So that's about 5 years. Okay. And with regards to your talent and interest for music and art, how did that develop?
Yeah, so it started actually when I was a kid. My mom often at home would play music, usually some Hong Kong pop songs or classical music. And when I entered this school in 1986 in Hong Kong, it's called the St. Paul Co-ed. This school required all the students there to pick an instrument. So at that time, I didn't think I liked piano, even though I heard it a lot. So instead, I picked a Chinese instrument called erhu, yiwu. But then it was in music class that I started hearing for the first time Beethoven, Chopin, and my classmates playing violin, piano, cello, that I immediately fell in love with classical music. And therefore, that's when I started falling in love. And also in the morning assembly, often senior level students will play and practice on the piano in the assembly hall piano. And next is a little short clip of me playing this piece that I heard in 1986, 1987, that really inspired me to start to love classical music. So it's called Heroic Polonaise by Chopin. I'm going to play a little clip, very short clip of it.
Sure.
So that was me playing a piece that I first heard more than 36 years ago. That triggered my love for piano music. And it was very long time later that I realized that is actually protest music by Chopin, because at that time, Poland was occupied by Russia, and Chopin was resisting the Russian rule by composing a lot of polonaise and mazurka, which are Polish national dances. and used it to tour the world to spread about Polish nationalism. He couldn't go back to Poland and has been in exile till the death of his own life. He never go back to Poland. And here's me actually now in Canada, in Markham. 1989, I was about maybe 15 years old, I guess, or 13, 14 years old. That's me in my Markham home, where I started having piano lesson. It's really when I come here that I start to have piano lesson, because school was really busy in Hong Kong, but here it's more relaxing. So I started having piano lesson, and then I went to university, stopped for a while, but then in 2005, I started playing again. I started organizing fundraising concerts for different causes, such as Oxfam Canada. This is for China earthquake. And then these are other concerts. And the poster on the right is my first concert for Hong Kong, which is 2020, 2 years ago. It's called Freedom Rhapsody, to fundraise for an organization for Hong Kong, which is called Bonham Tree Aid, which is to assist political prisoners in Hong Kong. And then just sharing with you some other photos of me performing. This is in Berlin, Philharmonie. And me performing Rachmaninoff's Second Concerto in Toronto. So that's the short story of my musical career. And next clip is a short clip of me performing totem dance in Berlin. It's a like 1 minute short clip. Let's hear it. So just to let everyone knows, that's actually coming up on November 2nd in Toronto, North York. I'll be organizing, producing, and performing a concert called People United. The theme is to unite diaspora communities from Hong Kong, China, Iran, and Ukraine. I'll be performing protest music from Hong Kong, the music that I wrote myself, and also Polish nationalist music by Chopin, Rachmaninoff, and also Ukrainian soprano will be singing songs about Ukraine, and I'll be also performing some protest music from Iran. So the concert is to fundraise for Bonham Tree Aid, which is to assist political prisoners in Hong Kong, and 30% of it will be to donate to Amnesty International.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
so
I have to stop you right there, if I may. I apologize. That's a lot of information that needs to be digested. I'm just going to make a few. So you said that this is your short story of your musical career, and needless to say, it's a spectacular short story. You've come a very long way, and I'm incredibly impressed. It's so true. The music is a very powerful tool to protest against oppressive tyranny. And I loved how you gave the example of the Chopin music with Poland and Russia. You know, many people were forced to flee Poland and could not come back because of the Russian occupation. So now, you know, Hong Kong is experiencing a similar situation. And I love that you were going to play a concert on November 2nd in Toronto. I already have my ticket. So for anyone who's watching this, please support Ricker and buy a ticket to his concert. It's going to go towards a noble cause. As you said, it's going to, some of the donations go towards helping political prisoners in Hong Kong and also towards Amnesty International. So this is something I'm really looking forward to. It's only a couple or 3 months away, but time will go by quickly for sure.
Yeah, you can go to my website, rickerchoi.com, and to get more information. Yeah, thank you, Sam.
All right, so let's go on to the next question that I have here, because I want to respect the time constraints. So what challenges have you faced thus far, and how do you deal with such adversity, particularly when dealing with aggressive pro-CCP nationalists that attack you on social media and other platforms?
Actually, if you talk about simply social media, there isn't much that I need to worry about because, like in my opinion, if it's just like online threats and so on, there isn't anything that really threatening me. Like what I worry mostly is really threats that are physical. But so far in Toronto, like at least I haven't seen anything that's really physically threatening activists. But I know in other parts of the world, very bad things have happened. So I'll share you a few screens. Like, so for example, we know that some activists have received phone call from Hong Kong police threatening them, even though they are in overseas already. And UK London, actually, recent news was that the London Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office is targeting Hong Kong activists who are already in UK, surveillance, intelligence gathering, and Hong Kong Economic Trade Office even paid 3 men to break into the home of a Hong Konger who left Hong Kong. Yeah, it's terrible. So even though you are outside of Hong Kong, you think you're safe, but your home can be broken in. And even worse can happen. On the left side, activist Fin Lau, who is in London, he was actually beaten severely. And then someone in Manchester, you can see, was dragged into the Chinese consulate grounds and beaten up.
Yeah, I heard about that story actually, how the consul general himself even took part in pulling the guy's hair to go into the consulate. And he denied the allegations.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so these are very scary things, but luckily so far I haven't encountered that myself in Toronto, but I have to be careful for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like as you say, social media, when people say things, it's not always going to materialize. So that's why you probably don't feel too concerned. But if there's been attempts to try and find your address or like physically harm you in real life, then that's when you should contact the authorities for sure.
Yes.
So far so good. All right. The next question has to do with the CCP's oppression in Hong Kong. Do you think it's going to stop at Article 23, or are there likely more policies still to come? And in the latter case, do you think it's still possible for another wave of protests to occur in Hong Kong?
So very clearly, there's no chance for any protest to occur in Hong Kong anymore. Recently, actually, there was a protest, I think like last year, and authorities only approved like, I think about 100 people to protest. And these people have to wear name tags. Everyone has to register, and nobody outside of this 100 people group is allowed to join. They can watch from outside, but they cannot join. And the police escorted them from beginning to the end. It was just like not too far, like a short walk. So they were heavily surveilled, and so far police have also not granted permits to many people who requested to protest. And I think to know what's going to happen in Hong Kong, first we have to review very quickly like what have already happened. So actually, don't know if everyone knows actually the Chinese Communist Party had already been trying to dilute the Hong Kong population since handover in 1997. There is a policy that allow actually 150 mainlanders from China to move to Hong Kong and live there permanently every single day. So I just did a very rough calculation. So after 27 years, there's about 1.5 million of Chinese mainlanders who now have migrated to Hong Kong. Right now, just based on this, is 20% of Hong Kong population, which is a lot. But then there's a lot of other immigration schemes like student visas. People can go to Hong Kong to work and stay permanently from China to Hong Kong. And so the number of immigrants from China to Hong Kong is way more than just 20% now. So just like Tibet and Xinjiang, the Chinese Communist Party have been diluting the population so that the culture and the language and the identity of the people will be getting less and less.
That's very sad.
And then June 30th, 2020 was the imposition of national security law. And I think the most important test for Hong Kong has always been the massive protest every year, commemoration of Tiananmen Square massacre. So in 1989, 10,000 people were killed when they asked for democracy, freedom, and end corruption in China, in Tiananmen Square, Beijing. So every year, 100 to 200,000 Hong Kongers have been attending the Victoria Park in Hong Kong candlelight vigil for a long time. And you can see it's like very amazing scene where like millions of like candles, like hundreds and thousands candles lighted up. And the next video is to show you what happened before national security law and after. And you can see even very small amounts of silent protests, you will get arrested now. So let's see the video.
The 30th anniversary of the crackdown saw one of the largest gatherings in the event's history. Since 2019, no official vigil has been held at Victoria.
呢位先生，我已經警告你立即停止，否則我會將你拘捕。你翻釋放佢哋。喂，副職。
People are still resisting in different ways.
So you can see just even standing there holding a sign with some words, or just even lighting up the lights in your phone will lead to arrest. And there have been some very severe sentencing. For example, this Hong Konger nicknamed Captain America, all he did was chanting slogans and sharing political news online. And he has been sentenced to 5 years and 9 months in prison for inciting subversion. And then another man was arrested in the airport just because wearing a shirt with protest slogan. And then this Gregory Wong, who is a very famous actor in Hong Kong, he only spent 27 seconds in 2019 at the Legislative Council, which is a protest scene. He was only there 27 seconds to hand in a phone charger to a reporter. And he has been sentenced to 6 years and 2 months.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I think like just based on this, you can see the freedom is extremely limited now in Hong Kong. And the entire political opposition has been eliminated with, for example, the arrest of 47 very prominent activists and politicians in the opposition side. And even for activists and politicians who left Hong Kong, their family in Hong Kong are being harassed, homes raided, brought into police for questioning, and even the mother of Nathan Law, who is still in Hong Kong, was evicted from public housing just because his son is a politician and have left Hong Kong. So you can see the amount of oppression is very severe.
It's guilt by association, basically. Even if the family member did nothing wrong, they still get punished.
Yes, exactly. And there's no more press freedom, of course, like the famous raid of Apple Daily in 2020, where I think 500 police officers raided the office, confiscated a lot of assets, equipments, arrested the board of directors and the founder, Jimmy Lai. And now the government even claimed that owning copies of Apple Daily newspaper could become illegal. And since national security law, at least 59 Hong Kong civic society has been disbanded. Unions, churches, media groups, political parties, and you can see how big an impact is just by looking at one of these, the Hong Kong Professional Teachers Union. It has almost 100,000 members. It was dissolved because the Chinese state-run People's Daily denounced it as a poisonous tumor that must be eradicated. So there's no more civic society in Hong Kong. Everything has to be state-controlled. And just to summarize, about press freedom, this is reported without borders. On 2002, Hong Kong was ranked 18 in the world in press freedom. And then you can see it declined gradually year by year. And today on the right, 2024 is now 135. And you can see China is 172. So there's still some way to go before it meets the low ranking in China.
But I guess it's probably going to continue going in that direction, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like you can see, like Hong Kong seems to be quite steady now. Like things go back to normal. But if you go back to what happened in 2019, there were a lot of floating corpses on the ocean during the year of protests. You can see this Chinese word, 2 words like 浮屍 that I highlighted. There were many news clip reporting different corpses were floating in the ocean near Hong Kong were found. And this is reminiscence of the Cultural Revolution back in the 1970s when there were a lot of corpses floating from mainland to Hong Kong. And police all claim all these deaths are not, no, there's no suspicion. Essentially, probably they are actually murdered by Hong Kong police or national security police and just thrown into the ocean. And then, of course, there's the Yuen Long attack. Like on June 21st, people were attacked just by going home. You're not necessarily in protest gear. You are just going home, and then white shirt thugs, hundreds of them, would come beat you. And the police, you can see the photo on the right, are standing together with these thugs. And you can see that some were beaten very severely. And even a legislative member, this Junius Ho, was seen shaking hands with this white shirt mafia, give them thumbs up and calling them heroes. So you can see the complete collapse of rule of law. Even pro-Beijing legislator will openly side with criminals who just beat indiscriminately Hong Kong people. And a group of Hong Kongers went to the police station asking for help, but the police simply closed down a gate. Yeah, so this is my art expressing my emotions towards the event. So you can see like the complete collapse of the rule of law. Like this is August 31st, which is just a month later. This time is Hong Kong police directly go and beat Hong Kong citizens indiscriminately. Yeah. So I think like there's no point of return for Hong Kong anymore. Hong Kong underneath is very rotten in terms of relying on authorities to protect you. There's no more such reliance can be expected.
Become corrupt, I guess.
Yes.
So that was a very elaborate explanation, of course, and I thank you for that. But I want to get back to the list of questions in order that I have to go through. So I guess you sort of talked about your prediction of the future, so I'll skip that one. But let's say if miraculously somehow conditions do improve, would you express some longing desire to go back if that happens?
Well, the problem with me is that I have been named by the Chinese state media quite a number of times that I'm a separatist, that I have infringed on national security law, and so on. Do you see a screen where I show you the articles by state media?
Yeah, your name is mentioned.
Yeah, so like, I don't know when things improved, what does it mean? Because I would never know if I am actually still on their list. And if I go back to Hong Kong, will I be arrested or not?
Let's say if the Chinese regime collapses or something like that.
Well, maybe there's hope then maybe, yes, I can go back to Hong Kong for sure. Then I would love to go and also meet a lot of my friends that I haven't seen or even talked to for a long time, and go visit places that I want to see, especially the protest sites from 2019. Yeah, like for example, like Polytechnic University, Chinese University of Hong Kong. I want to especially, for example, visit this place where the Chinese University of Hong Kong did a exhibition of my art. Yeah. Do you see a screen of the exhibition?
CUHK.
Yes, yeah. So I would love to, go look at Chinese University of Hong Kong, visit this space where my art was exhibited, kind of like a pilgrimage for religious people.
Okay, that's very nice. I like that. So again, earlier you've answered one of the questions that I wanted to ask about the safety of Hong Kong pro-democracy activists overseas. I guess there are cases of people who are not quite safe, like in the UK, where there was that guy who was bleeding. So
yes,
I'm going to skip that question and just go to number 9. What can Canadians and the rest of the international community do to help the Hong Kong democracy cause?
Well, I think first thing is to pay attention to the foreign infiltration that is happening in Canada. We saw on the news that Kenny Chiu, who was an MP, he was trying to get re-elected, and he suffered a huge, massive disinformation and smearing campaign on Chinese social media called WeChat, where people were claiming that he's a racist, that what he wanted to instill as law, which is the foreign agent registry, is actually discriminatory. Despite that, Kenny Chiu himself is an Asian, right? He was from Hong Kong. And also we saw that Michael Chong, who is also an MP, his family in Hong Kong was actually surveyed and threatened, but the government didn't even tell Michael Chong. I think we have to pay attention to what's happening with the government in terms of foreign infiltration and election interference. There was another story about one of the MP who is heavily infiltrated by the Chinese Communist Party. He actually have busload of old seniors and students
Shandong, I think.
yeah, Handong, yeah, to actually like bus them into the election voting center to vote for him, and actually threatening the students who are from China that if they don't vote for him, the student visa will be revoked. So it was very severe type of infiltration. All this is in Globe and Mail and mainstream media. You can look it up.
Yeah, no, that particular case about Handong, it was the liberal primaries because non-citizens can vote for that. So him or the Chinese consul general in Toronto threatening to revoke the student visas is obviously very illegal, and that's just unacceptable. It should not be tolerated in society. So I guess people should pay attention more, maybe write letters to politicians, try to, sway them to pay more attention and take harsher stances. I think is a good approach.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something about Michael Chong. That's a very interesting case where he actually lost touch with his family in Hong Kong. So I'm going to ask you this side question. Do you have any relatives who still live there? And if so, have you lost touch with them because of your activism?
Well, I of course still have relatives there because I was born in there, and my mom have sisters. But then because of this whole activism, the most safest thing to do is not to really contact them, so that there will be no way that the Chinese Communist Party can use them as hostage and harass them to stop activism work.
That's probably very smart. I think it's a wise choice. And my last question is, what is your message to opposition figures who are pro-Beijing, including foreigners that still live in China today who promote the CCP? What do you have to say to them?
Well, because we have now the foreign agent registry that hopefully it will be passed into law, and that would hopefully stop these pro-Beijing politicians from doing anything more overt in speaking and doing things for Beijing. So I think this politician, has to be aware that the time is ending for them to be acting on behalf of a foreign government. Their loyalty should be with Canada, not with other foreign countries like Iran,
Absolutely.
China, Russia.
So screening should be improved for sure. But yeah, that's it. That's all what I really have to ask for today. Ricker, it's been a real pleasure talking with you. And again, to everyone watching this, please go and support this man. I have a ticket for his concert. Buy one if you can. Encourage your friends to go because I'm really looking forward to it. He's got world-class talent. And yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a real surprise for all of us to see there. So Ricker, thank you once again for being here. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your night.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good night, everyone.
You take care, eh? Bye-bye.
Bye.